I wish to welcome you all this evening to remember all our babies and children who have sadly died during pregnancy and shortly after childbirth or in childhood. Some of you will recently be bereaved, others some time ago, or others will have suffered many losses. This service is an annual occasion for parents and staff to meet again, to remember those precious babies and children. It has been organised by our Forget-Me-Not Bereaved Parents Liaison Group, our staff and chaplaincy team. Tonight the service will be facilitated by some of our bereaved parents, and each area of our directorate will be represented by staff members. Kelly, a mum and member of our Forget-Me-Not group, will also be speaking tonight and sharing the story of the loss of her son Noah and recurrent pregnancy loss. On arrival this evening, you were asked to write your baby's name on our memory list for the chaplain to read out as a candle is lit. Later on in our service, when your baby's name is read out, you're welcome to bring forward a flower in memory of your baby. After the service, these flowers are taken to the hospital chapel and will be displayed with our memory books. The memory books will be available later on this evening for you to look at. We also have our remembrance tree. Please feel free to place a seeded heart with your child's name upon it. These hearts will then be collected and planted in the Forget-Me-Not woodland in November during our annual tree planting event. This woodland is located at Billy Neal Country Park. Further information about our Forget-Me-Not woodland can be obtained from available flyers or by speaking to our bereavement midwives, Jacqueline and Susan. After the service, tea and coffee will be served and parents and staff will have time to meet up and chat. And so I'd just like to invite you all to join in singing our first song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
God of all, we come here today, people from different backgrounds and different ways of life, to share in this memorial service for our children. Their lives, no matter how short or young, brought us love and joy, grief and pain, dreams and hope that were never fulfilled. Their lives and death have touched all who have been part of their lives. We feel differently and think differently for the mark they have left us, and we will never be the same again. We join together to remember our children and to give thanks for their lives. Today we gather to remember the children who are no longer with us, and yet who will always be with us. We come to remember our children, their stories, their special ways, the special place that they have in our hearts. Today we come with many thoughts and with many feelings. We come with hearts that grieve and hearts that love, with hearts that know the deep shadows of winter and hearts that know the hope that is born of spring. Today we remember our children. We give thanks for the time we shared, for the memories that we cherish, and for the love that unites us and will never end.
An ugly pair of shoes, author unknown. I am wearing a pair of shoes. They are ugly shoes, uncomfortable shoes. I hate my shoes. Each day I wear them, and each day I wish that I had another pair. Some days my shoes hurt so badly that I do not think I can take one other step, yet I continue to wear them. I get funny looks wearing these shoes. They're looks of sympathy. I can tell in others' eyes that they are glad they are my shoes and not theirs. They never talk about my shoes. To learn how awful my shoes are might make them uncomfortable. To truly understand these shoes, you must walk in them. But once you put them on, you can never take them off. I now realise that I am not the only one who wears these shoes. There are many pairs in this world. Some women are like me and ache daily as they try and walk in them. Some have learned how to walk in them so they don't hurt quite as much. And some have worn the shoes so long that days will go by before they think about how much they hurt. No woman deserves to wear these shoes. Yet, because of these shoes, I am a stronger woman. These shoes have given me the strength to face anything. They've made me who I am. I will forever walk in the shoes of a woman who has lost a child.
I'm now going to read out your baby's names and welcome you to come to the table and to place the flower. But first, I'm just going to light the candle. Noah Barnes and his brothers and sisters. Bertie James English. Rosa Joy Coots. Matthew Daniel Belsios. James Bucky Kearney. Rosie Reid McNeil. Amelia Armstrong. Holly Jane McMenamin. Cahir Malachi Hannah. Arthur Liu. Jacob James O'Hara. Sonny Baker. Mary Higgins, Terry Higgins, Mary Elizabeth Higgins, and babies, 2 babies, baby Haran. Emma Louise Margaret Hard. Hunter Lee Murphy. The Taggart twins. Zoe Louise Stewart. Baby McAndrew. Rex Spratt. Bowie Bentley. Noah Turner. Jackie Miller. Noah Stubbington. Ezra MacDonald. Kia Lee McConnell. Baby Peacock. Baby Corbett. Myla Faith McCabe. Isabella Dorian and baby Dorian. Thea James Clark. Alva McKenna. I'm just going to suggest that if you want to put your flowers on this table as well, because we have so many tonight, which is so poignant, feel free to do that if you'd like to do that. Matilda Margaret Ruth Gray and Leonora Martha Gray. Baby Chapman. Padraig Mullen. James and Ella Johnston. Abby McCulloch, Noah Dixon, Baby Rooney, Archie McNeil, Baby Jess 1 and Baby Jess 2, Maccabee Locke Wiseman, Tommy Ardis, Baby Stuart, Baby Montgomery, Baby Montgomery, Baby Dawn and Baby Zoe, Baby McMaster, Baby Catherine Kennedy Burns, Baby Ross, Daniel McFarland, Jessica Boucher, Eli Dottie Gurley, Baby McElhatton, Baby McElhatton, Grace, Avery, Bo and Holly Owen, Everly, Teddy and Shay Wilkinson. Josiah, Hannah, Eloise and Hope Graham. Sophia Lilly. Callum and Samuel McCloskey. Isabella Parker. Aidan Rocks. Arella Daisy McCulloch. Baby Willis. Cyrus Joel Nichols. And Baby Fulton.
I share with you in the agony of your grief. The anguish of your heart finds echo in my own. I know I cannot enter all you feel, nor bear with you the burden of your pain. I can but offer what my love does give. The strength of caring, the warmth of one who seeks to understand the silent, storm-swept barrenness of such great a loss. This do I in quiet ways, that on your lonely path you may not walk alone.
Please use this time to remember your own children and the children of those around you. Please use the words and the times of silence in the way that is most appropriate for you. The hardest form of love is saying farewell to someone you love. So much hope turns into sorrow. Hearts may be heavy with sadness and tears, but our memories, though short, are full of love and kindness.
We remember with pride and thanksgiving all the children who we no longer see, but who hold their unique place in our thoughts. We honour them with our remembrance and our love.
We acknowledge the pain that the loss of our children has brought to us and the tears that so many times we have had to hold back. We weep because we know these are children only fleetly and we so longed to know them better. We weep because even now we long to hold them in our arms.
We acknowledge too the loss of the future that would have been theirs, the joys as well as the frustrations of growing up, the simplest pleasures of life which they have not been able to know, and the family and friends that they would have so enjoyed.
We recognise other members of our family, grandparents, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, cousins and friends, whose lives have also been touched and immeasurably changed by the loss of these children who also belong to them. We think of these who cannot be here today, but who likewise share our grief.
We are thankful for all those who openly or silently have cared for us, who have listened to our despair and who have dried our tears. We remember too those lonely times, even the love of those closest to us has been unable to ease our pain.
We think of the work of the various organisations and professional bodies committed to the care of those who have been bereaved of children. There have been many times when their understanding and their skill have been of untold importance to those who have been bereaved.
As doctors and nurses, midwives and counsellors who care for those who have been bereaved, Lord, guide us along the path of grief and sorrow of those in our care. Allow us to walk by their side. Teach us to listen, not only with our ears, but also with our heart. Guide our actions and words, and give us the strength to care for those who are grieving.
We look towards the future, knowing that we shall always carry with us tears, but also embracing the joy that will come to us too. We are deeply grateful to these, our children, because in large measure it is they who have taught us to recognise joy and to understand those things in life that are of greatest worth.
Comfort us in our sorrow, strengthen us with hope, and breathe peace into our troubled hearts.
Show compassion to those in sorrow, be our refuge and our strength, to lift us from the darkness of grief to the peace and light of your presence. Amen.
Then people brought little children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them and pray for them. But the disciples rebuked them. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." When he had placed his hands on them, he went on from there.
Dear God, into your hands we commend these precious children and entrust them to your merciful keeping. Reassure us that our children rest in your love. Be near to them and to us forevermore. Be our strength and guide. Lead us to know your healing peace and joy. Invite you now to join with me as we say the words that the Lord Jesus taught us to say. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
The 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
My name is Kelly, and I am mum of 12, one earthly son and 11 angels. My losses range from 6 weeks to 21 weeks. I've had 10 early losses, and we lost Noah at just under 21 weeks. My most recent loss was 2022.
My baby loss journey began in 2017. I discovered at Christmas 2016 that I was pregnant and remember excitedly telling my parents on Boxing Day. Less than a week later, on the 1st of January 2017, I began to bleed. Being my first pregnancy, I was in complete panic. My husband came home from work and we went straight to A&E. I remember attending and the nurse doing a pregnancy test on me, and when it came back positive, I remember saying, oh well, it's still positive, so that's a good sign. At the time, this gave me a considerable amount of hope. However, I know now that a positive pregnancy test was irrelevant. It was a busy night in A&E. However, I was left in reception for 4 hours, bleeding heavily, having to run to the toilet, and in a considerable amount of pain. Eventually, I was taken to EPU, where a number of blood tests were conducted. Although miscarriage was likely, it was not confirmed until the results of the blood tests had come back. The dreaded waiting game began, and eventually my miscarriage was confirmed. I went on to have 3 further losses, including an ectopic pregnancy before my son was born. During these 3 losses, I became aware of the term the 2-week wait. Because I was having early scans, it often meant there was a waiting game of 2 weeks to confirm if everything was okay, or in my case, not. What feels like the longest 2 weeks of your life waiting to see if your second scan still shows a baby. The obsessive going to the toilet and checking everything was okay. Every twinge sent a rush of anxiety through your body. I was referred to a counsellor through my work. Unfortunately, this was not a bereavement counsellor. 2 sessions, and to be honest, she just made me angry. She repeatedly implied that I would have a baby at some point down the line, and I think I lasted about 3 sessions before refusing to see her again. Thankfully, later down the line, I discovered Hilary, our amazing bereavement counsellor. No words can describe the benefits I got from speaking to Hilary, and I wish I had gone to her sooner in my journey. You could tell Hilary anything, and you wouldn't be judged, no matter how dark your thoughts were. Losing Hilary is a massive blow to bereaved parents, and I wish her well in her recovery and in her retirement. I was referred to the recurrent miscarriage clinic for tests, and unfortunately these all come back as normal. I also attended a number of appointments in Coventry for other tests and appointments with Professor Quimby. Unfortunately, no causes were ever found. Then in 2018, I became pregnant with Kyle. I was under the care of Dr. Caroline Bryson. She was amazing. I was very anxious, and she ensured I had scans every 2 weeks to try and put me at ease. It was an extremely anxious time for me and my family. Even with the extra scans, as soon as you walk out that door of the scan room, your anxiety levels would increase again. I remember being in a minor car crash whilst pregnant with Kyle and attending EOU for a scan just to confirm everything was okay, and thankfully it was. The following day, I was scheduled to attend maternity for my fortnightly reassurance scan. Despite being at EOU the previous day, I attended anyway. However, it wasn't Caroline who saw me that day. The doctor I saw that day questioned why I was there, why I was having so many scans, why I attended when I had been there the previous day, and I was made to feel like a complete inconvenience to him. When we left the hospital that day, I was extremely upset, and my husband has also got the same impression from the doctor. We felt so strongly about it, we decided to contact Caroline. We advised her about what had happened, and she was immediately apologetic and assured me I would not be seen by this doctor again. Thankfully, Kyle was born on the 5th of March 2019 and is now a crazy 5-year-old. My little miracle. In October 2019, I went on to have another early loss, and then in June 2020, we discovered we were pregnant again. Early signs were good, and I was progressing. I'd got past that dreaded first 12 weeks, starting to feel slightly more settled. However, this was during the initial stages of COVID, so it was a worrying time. In October, just before my 20-week scan, I suffered a heavy bleed at home. I went to EOU. At the time, I was on day 13 of isolating after being in close contact with someone in work who had contracted COVID. I remember going to the hospital and being met by 2 people in full hazmat suits. My husband wasn't allowed in with me. I was seen in a room which appeared to be part of a corridor with the lift actually opening into it. I remember lying on the bed being examined, thinking at any time someone was going to come down the lift and walk straight into the room. I continued to bleed heavily, however my baby was still fighting. I was admitted to hospital, initially to the maternity ward in my own room. And whilst in the maternity ward, the midwives were amazing and were able to listen to my baby's heartbeat when I was having my own observations. And this was extremely reassuring and helped with the anxiety. However, I was then moved to Neely ward, where I remained for a number of days, and unfortunately they weren't able to listen for the heartbeat as often, so my anxiety was through the roof again. Eventually, on the Saturday morning, I was allowed home. However, in the early hours of Sunday morning, I had a further heavy bleed and was suffering some pain. I went straight back to EOU. At 4 o'clock in the morning of the 18th of October, I was scanned and my baby was still fighting. I was moved up to room 7 in the delivery suite. At 8 o'clock on the 18th of October, the doctor again scanned me. This time, there was no heartbeat. Again, I was alone. Due to COVID, no one was allowed with me. I had to ring my husband and tell him what had happened. I will never forget that phone call. Thankfully, the doctor was amazing, and I will be forever grateful to him for his compassion. He allowed my husband to come up and also my mum, which I know was probably against the hospital rules at that time, but I needed them both. The midwife that was with him whilst breaking the news was also amazing and so compassionate. The care I received in room 7 was amazing. Noah was born sleeping at 19:53 hours on the 19th of October 2020. We were allowed to spend as much time as we wanted with him and made some cherished memories. We cuddled him, read him stories, talked to him and about his big brother. Despite it being during COVID, the doctor allowed for my mum and my mother-in-law to come up. They both got to meet Noah, and for that I am forever grateful, and I'm sure they are too. I gave Noah one of the butterflies from the memory box, and I wear the other around my neck. I also have the little knitted square, and he has one which I had placed on me. These memories are so important, especially during COVID, as no one was able to meet him. Noah's ashes are beside my bed, along with the little knitted squares, some teddies, and other little things that remind me of him. And I also sleep with the blanket he was wrapped in beneath my pillow. I also have his last scan photo of when his little heart was still beating, and I say goodnight to him every night before I go to sleep and turn his light off. When we go away, we have the light on a timer so he's never in the dark. Scan photos are a big trigger for me now, and I find them extremely hard to look at, and I avoid when possible. I even avoided looking at my own scans after Noah. Most of the time, I was asked if I wanted to see the screen and would politely decline. I like that the last thing I see at night is Noah's scan, and the first thing I see in the morning is his scan. Memories are so important. For Noah, I have his little hand and footprints framed and hung in the living room, and a friend also named a star after him, and there are other little signs of Noah scattered around the house. My son was very young at the time when Noah was born, so he didn't understand, but now he's older, we talk about Noah a lot. Kyle knows he has a little brother who lives in heaven and would often bring his name up in conversation, which I love. For my other miscarriages, I've had at least one scan photo of them. They're all now kept together with Noah's memories, and although I still can't look at them, maybe someday down the line I will be able to. And if I can't look at them, then maybe Kyle will be able to in the future. For my recurrent miscarriages, I've had every test under the sun. All have come back normal. I heard someone say before, it's not that everything is normal, it's that there hasn't been enough research done to find the cause. This is a problem for early losses. The research previously has been focused on later losses, however this does seem to be improving. Unfortunately, since Noah, I've gone on to have another 5 early losses. The most recent was in July 2022. With this pregnancy, we went for an early scan and we saw a heartbeat. However, this was slower than what we would have expected for my dates. The midwife reassured me my dates could be out and to come back in a couple of weeks, the dreaded 2-week wait again. I knew my dates weren't out, and I already knew I was likely to lose another baby. We returned in a couple of weeks later, and as expected, there was no heartbeat. I decided to have an MVA procedure. However, a couple of days before this was arranged, I miscarried naturally. I attended the hospital anyway, just to have everything checked. It was at this point it was discovered there was some retained tissue. However, the problem was the tissue was within my scar from my previous C-section. I was then diagnosed with a partial ectopic scar pregnancy. After all my losses, I'd never heard of this and did not know the seriousness of it. Unfortunately, due to the high risk of bleeding, I wasn't able to have the MVA to remove the tissue. I was given medication and had an overnight stay in hospital. However, again, this did not work. So I was up and down to the hospital every week for approximately 3 months, getting blood tests and having scans. Eventually, after almost 4 months, my HCG levels were considered low enough that I did not require weekly scans. However, the tissue remained. This was an extremely scary time. I wasn't able to grieve my loss due to the physical complications I was suffering, and it wasn't until December that a scan showed the tissue had resolved. It was during this appointment we were advised of the risk of further pregnancies. We made the decision that our journey was over and our little family was complete. At the same time, I was treated absolutely atrociously by my employer. Having been with my employer for a number of years, they were well aware of my previous losses. Due to the risk of bleeding and both the physical and mental effects this miscarriage was having on me, I was off work for a considerable amount of time, and they decided they wanted to discipline me for my sickness. You can imagine my disgust. I was brought in for a meeting with my supervisor, and we know there are certain things that you never say to anyone who has suffered a loss, no matter what gestation. I think my employer got a copy of these and said them all to me. I was gobsmacked. During the meeting, one of the first things that was said to me was, "It's not technically a pregnancy, and so it's not being treated as pregnancy related." I felt like someone had punched me, and I couldn't speak for a few minutes. I didn't challenge it at the time, but if you said that to me now, good luck to you. They talked about a protected period in relation to miscarriage, which I'd never heard of, but legally it means you're protected for 2 weeks after a loss, and basically it means you can't be discriminated against in that period of time. However, they had turned it, and I was told that these 2 weeks were to allow me to recover and return to work. Now, this is the most ridiculous thing I've heard, especially given the nature of my loss that I was off for. To suggest that someone should be recovered and ready to go back to work after 2 weeks after any loss is completely insulting. Other really insensitive comments were said to me in the meeting, and I will never forget them. Unfortunately, I was then disciplined for my sickness. Of course, I appealed this decision. However, this involved another meeting with a different supervisor, and given my history, you can imagine my surprise when the first question I was asked was, "Are you currently pregnant?" I did eventually return to work, but have had to move team, and as I could no longer work under the supervision of those people. Of course, this is all now subject to legal proceedings. Thankfully for me, my treatment with the early pregnancy unit was always very positive. For somewhere that 99% of the time had a negative result for me, the staff were brilliant. I always got an early scan, with most of the staff becoming aware of my history, having been with me so many times. I remember when I was in hospital just before I lost Noah, one of the midwives from EPU came and visited me. She didn't need to do this, but it was lovely. With recurrent miscarriage, the feeling builds. It's like feeling on top of feeling. You are even more devastated every time it happens. It doesn't get any easier. Every time you have a miscarriage, you're just building that feeling that you want the baby in your arms for it to be ripped away. Other times, it would be implied that because I have a living child, that he makes up for everything else that has happened. Now, yes, I know I am lucky that I have a living son, but I will also forever be affected by what has happened to me, and it is a part of me now. And I also find it very difficult to deal with the guilt that I haven't been able to give Kyle a living sibling. Since my most recent miscarriage, I would say I've turned into quite an angry person, but I've also got myself quite educated on legal rights within the workplace. I found a fire in my belly. I don't want anyone else to be treated the way I was in work, and I'm fighting for a new policy and work to prevent this. The damage has already been done to me, but hopefully I can prevent it happening to someone else. In April, I was invited on to BBC Radio Ulster and spoke about pregnancy loss certificates. Later that week, these were approved in local government. Unfortunately, we are still waiting for these to come to the forefront, but I've been on the back of some local politicians to get them moving, so I won't be giving up easily. The most recent update we have is April. One of the things I found most difficult about my miscarriages, but especially Noah, was that it felt that he didn't exist anywhere. Despite me giving birth to him and holding him and having his ashes, we weren't entitled to a birth certificate. It was fantastic to hear today that England had extended the certificates to any dates. I just wish it was our turn to make that announcement. I think the impact of these has been underestimated by a lot of people and for too long. A pregnancy loss certificate would have a massive impact on so many families, and I truly believe it will assist in the grieving process for so many people. However, I'm not sure how I will feel when I have 11 certificates posted through the door. It was just before the 2021 Remembrance service when I decided to reach out to the Forget Me Not group. At the time, their meetings were in Zoom, so it was slightly impersonal. It was at the first meeting it was decided to write our babies' names on the seated hearts, all of which needed threaded so they could be hung up. This is when I met Claire face to face. I stood at her door for probably an hour and chatted. It was probably one of the best conversations I had had since my first loss in 2017. There is nothing like talking to another mum about your angels. You just get each other. Everything goes. You can say what you want and not be judged, no matter how dark it is. The Forget Me Not group is primarily to improve bereavement care in the hospital and a number of changes have been made since I joined. This alone is a positive feeling. However, the friendships I have made within this group are indescribable. Whenever I have a bad day, I know I can reach out to any of them, and we'll often meet up for coffee, walks, and the odd wee night involves some alcohol. There is something special about another baby lost mummy. I know I have friends for life with these girls. Jacqueline and Susan, our bereavement midwives, do so much for bereaved families. A lot of this is done quietly in the background. They're always fighting our corner, and I'm so grateful that we have them. Nothing is too much for them, and they are genuinely only concerned about helping bereaved families. No words can describe these ladies. They're like our fairy godmothers. Plus, Jacqueline always makes her amazing shortbread for our meetings. Some of my baby's ashes have been scattered in the baby garden in Roselawn, but unfortunately I find it difficult visiting there due to an unfortunate incident when I was collecting Noah's ashes. So one of the most important things to come out of the Forget Me Not group is our tree. We planted this a couple of years ago in the Forget Me Not woodland at Billy Neal Platenfield. The tree is for Noah and his brothers and sisters. For us, this is their mark on earth. Having no birth certificate for Noah had a negative impact on me, more than I thought. But having this tree acknowledges Noah's existence. He did exist, and he deserves to be acknowledged and counted along with his brothers and sisters. Having all the trees together is very comforting, and having a tree in memory of midwife Hazel McAllister is precious, as it feels like she is looking after all our little ones. The last 7 years have changed me, some for the worse, but some for the better. Miscarriage is so under-researched, but this is improving, but not enough. And without miscarriages being counted, it is unlikely that this will change much. At the minute, they aren't even a statistic, and that needs to change. So that's my next task, but I will continue to chase the politicians in relation to baby loss certificates. I don't give up easily. I will forever fight for my little football team.
A little snowdrop. The world may never notice if a snowdrop doesn't bloom, or even pause to wonder if the petals fall too soon. But every life that ever forms, or even comes to be, touches the world in some small way for all eternity. The little one we long for was swiftly here and gone, but the love that was then planted is a light that still shines on. And though our arms are empty, our hearts know what to do. Every beating of our hearts says of our love for you.
I invite you, if you wish, to pray. Let us pray. Gracious God, we come to you, you whose heart is big enough to love us all, whose ear is always open to our cry, whose arms are always there to pick us up and carry us on. We come grateful that you know all our names, you know all our stories, and the names and the stories of our babies and children. We thank you that we can bring to you our broken hearts, our many different emotions and our scrambled thoughts, and you promise to be with us in those, no matter how dark or difficult. Thank you that you are the forget-me-not God who always remembers us and our babies and our children. When we find it hard to hold on to you, thank you that you promise to never let go of us. When we wonder if anyone else knows what we are going through, thank you that you promise to enfold us in your tender compassion and to be always there for us and our babies and our children. Thank you for listening to these, our prayers, spoken and unspoken. We offer them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
It must be very difficult to be a man in grief, since men don't cry and men are strong. No tears can bring relief. It must be very difficult to stand up to the test and field the calls and visitors so she can get some rest. They always ask if she's all right and what she's going through, but seldom take his hand and ask, "My friend, but how are you?" He hears her crying in the night and thinks his heart will break. He dries her tears and comforts her, but stays strong for her sake. It must be very difficult to start each day anew and try to be so very brave. He lost his baby too.
Good evening. Forget me not. I give you this one thought to keep. I am with you still. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not think of me as gone. I am with you still in each new dawn.
Lord, give us courage to live through our pain, strength to give love even when it is difficult, and the energy we need to live our lives. Be with us now as we leave, and give us your blessing and your peace.
Thank you very much to everyone who has taken part in our service this evening. And most of all, thank you all for coming this evening. And just to say that when those double doors open at the back, we'll have some tea and coffee refreshments, and you're very welcome to stay on for those. And you can bring them in. And if you would like to see our memory books and memory tree and chat to staff, you can do that in here as well. And may I wish you a good evening and a safe journey home. Thank you very much.